Good day, good day, good day. It has been more than a minute since we've been together. Good day. Is it cold where you all are? It was 22 degrees here this morning, and I am having hot tea because it's cold. Yes, it is. So, let's get started. We are going to revisit the unruly member, your tongue. We're going to revisit that. And of course, we're going to start with our quote. If you want something you have never had, you must be willing to do something you've never done. And this was penned by Thomas Jefferson. And we know that scripture that says, it's James 3, 8 through 11. It says, but no one can tame the human tongue. But I would like to submit that we must be willing to do something that we've never done in an attempt to rein, R-E-I-N, in our unruly member, which is our tongue. Our tongue. Lasting relationships, whether that's dating, marriage, work related, etc., we need to work towards building a stronger communication or building stronger communication skills. Building stronger communication skills fosters trust and connection. And I had shared with you all before that Dr. Shelley Summerfelt explained in order to have an open, honest, and vulnerable relationship with our partner, we must be able to freely communicate in a healthy manner. So, be able to be open, honest, and vulnerable, freely communicating these issues, whatever they may be. Identifying some areas of poor communication skills. And I went over these in November, and then we had Thanksgiving, and I just want to revisit those things and add some things. We talked about passive aggressive behavior. Passive aggressive behavior in a way of expressing hidden anger instead of addressing conflict head on. This might look like cracking a joke about your partner always being late, or punishing them with the silent treatment. These behaviors allow you to express your frustration without actually having to talk about it. It might feel satisfying in the moment, but it will not serve you any favors in the long run. It will not serve you any favors in the long run. And the next was brushing things under the rug. Simply avoiding conflict will not help. Ignoring issues just gives them the space and time to build up into something larger down the road. Now, you had something that's been sitting in your craw for quite some time, and he went in the bathroom to shave, and he left those little stubby things all in the sink, as well as he left his underwear right there on the floor. Now, you've come through before, and you rinsed out the sink, and you picked up the underwear, and you put them in the hamper. But this day, you blew a gasket And he had no clue of what was going on because you went back to all of those things that you had brushed under the rug. And this was the proverbial straw that broke the camel's back. That's what brushing things under the rug will do. Using aggressive speech. Using aggressive speech, becoming openly defensive or hostile when talking to your partner is a sign you have fallen into toxic communication pattern. Aggressive speech can involve raising your voice, blaming or criticizing. Now this one right here, I will be Elvis and I will leave the building because once you raise your voice at me, I shut down. I no longer hear what you have to say. I'm not listening. I'm just a shell sitting before you. So, this one, I don't know how many people this triggers, but that's a big trigger for me. There is a process that we must first address before addressing anyone. First, we must process our feelings, your feelings. You must process your feelings first. Before talking with your partner about any issue that is upsetting you, be sure to process your own feelings on the subject and calm yourself first. Should you go into a conversation feeling very angry, upset, and too emotional, this communication tends to become heated. Try taking a walk. Try inhaling deeply and exhaling. Inhaling deeply and exhaling, just to bring you back before this member gets out of control. When you control your emotions, then you can have more control of the conversation. When you control your emotions, and I know you all have heard me say over and over again, when you measure your words, when you take a moment and measure your words, it's more beneficial for you. Starting conversations with I statements, and feelings. How we approach our partner can make all of the difference. When you begin a conversation by pointing the finger at the other person and placing blame, the conversation can quickly get heated. Quickly. To pour water on something that might be smoldering, begin with I statements. They are less accusatory. It just brings it down. Because what you're saying is, I feel hurt. I feel hurt. Not that what you said, but it's how I took it, and I feel hurt. That gives the other person the opportunity to say, but that's not what I intended. I never intended to hurt your feelings. So we put a little water on that smoldering fire. Mm-hmm. Focus on being both heard and listening. Focus on being heard and listening. While you may not agree with your partner's point of view, it is important to actually listen to why they feel the way they do. And this should be reciprocated to you. Allow them. When having a discussion, do not make it a competition to see who wins. Instead, actively listen and try to understand their point of view. Set clear boundaries. Placing firm boundaries can also avoid any miscommunications. Can avoid any miscommunications. Example, if finances is a sore spot, you may want to say, my boundary is in this relationship or whatever, we don't have to talk about you spending $300. But when you spend $500, we need to talk about it first. That is a boundary. The boundary is you can freely spend $300. Not every day. That's not what I'm saying. But that's your limit that you can spend. And we don't have to take it to the board. But if we're going to spend $500 or more, we need to discuss it first because it may have a bearing on the household. So, have clear boundaries, which will avoid any miscommunications. Make compromising and resolution the goal. Make compromising and resolution the goal. Remember that the focus of communication with your partner is coming to an understanding. That's what the focus is. And the both of you should leave a conversation feeling as though there's some kind of resolution. That's what should happen. More often than not, resolution relies on some level of compromise. Are you willing to compromise? It requires some compromise. This helps to forgive and move forward. It also can bring on feelings of strength and connection. Think about timing. Dr. Sommerfeld, that I mentioned before, says that choosing the right time to talk with your partner can make all of the difference. If something's weighing on your mind, give your partner a heads up that you would like to sit down and talk. Now, when you give that person a heads up, it's not, I want to talk to you when you get home. You call them at work and you say, I want to talk to you when you get home. That's not what we're talking about. Because that tone and tenor says it's going to escalate when you cross the threshold. That's not what we're talking about. But it is to say, there's something I would like to talk with you about if you have some time. So you pick a time and we can sit down and uninterrupted by phones or your iPads, your television, music, that we can sit down and talk about an issue that I'm having trouble with. That's how you give them a heads up. If your partner knows that you would like to speak with them, then they can help. This can help de-escalate the situation, as well as they are less likely to feel ambushed. When you sitting there waiting for him, when he better have trimmed his toenails, because when he crosses that threshold, if that toenail comes over on my side, his is mine. Well, We don't want that. That's not what we want. That is not what we want. We do not want anyone to feel ambushed or blindsided ever. Now, some communication pitfalls to avoid: the silent treatment. Persons often adopt the silent treatment, thinking it is setting boundaries, but boundaries work best when you communicate explicitly with a partner. Otherwise, they may not realize they've crossed one. Yeah, this is this is my boundary. This is my pet peeve. My pet peeve is, well, I might be a little OCD, but don't go in my refrigerator and get my eggs uneven. Don't go in there and take 3 eggs. Get the fourth one because it's gonna leave. It's gonna leave my eggs uneven. Okay, so that's the boundary for me. That's a real boundary for me, that I go in there and my eggs are uneven. Nevertheless, but that's a boundary. Um, Bringing up the past mistakes. Bringing up past mistakes. It's easy to fall into the habit of rehashing the past during a heated moment. Regularly dredging up your partner's mistakes can be counterproductive and just makes them more defensive. Yelling and screaming, as I had said earlier, raising your voice during an argument or resorting to yelling and screaming is an ineffective way to process your anger. In the long term, it can cause arguments to become more intense and erode your partner's self esteem. And erode your partner's self esteem. Yes. Pastor Book, I know you didn't say help Lord. Help Lord, LAWD, Pastor. It is serious for me, those eggs being out of whack, okay? Uh, Walking away is another pitfall. Walking away, stonewalling, or walking away mid argument is a way of disengaging from your partner and leaving the conflict unresolved. Leaving it unresolved. The next is disrespectful nonverbal behavior. Body language can communicate volumes. They say that when I look over to the top of my glasses, um, that they know what I'm thinking. Maybe, maybe not. But sometimes our face says everything. Or checking your phone instead of facing your partner. Making eye contact with your partner, for example, can make the other person, not making eye contact, can make the other person feel disrespected. I'm not worthy of your total attention. It's important. Now, take a deep breath, take a sip of your tea, and we're going to see what the life book has to say, the Bible. So get your Bible. Let's see what the life book has to say. Are you ready? Okay. Inhale, exhale. Now let's see what the word says. Let's go to Proverbs 21:23. And you all know I'm reading from the Amplified. It says, "He who guards his mouth and his tongue guards himself from troubles." He who guards his mouth and his tongue guards himself from troubles. You've heard the old adage, don't let your mouth write a check that your backside cannot pay. Guard it. Guard your mouth and your tongue. Helps you from troubles. Mhm. Proverbs 15:1. Proverbs 15:1. He who guards his mouth. I wrote down the wrong one. Psalms 141:3. Psalms 141:3. It, it says, set a guard, O Lord, over my mouth. Keep watch over the door of my lips to keep me from speaking thoughtlessly. So that's a petition because you're saying, left to my own, Lord, I need you. I need you to tie my tongue in a square knot because I feel that I'm getting ready to speak thoughtlessly. So, whatever it is that I'm thinking, if it would hurt my feelings if it was said to me, then I should not say it because I'm positive that it's going to hurt your feelings. And the last is Proverbs 17:28. Now, this is the icing on the cake. It says, even a callous, arrogant fool. My God. Now, I didn't say this. This is written in the Life Book, Amplified Version. It says, even a callous, arrogant fool, when he keeps silent, is considered wise. When he closes his lips, he is regarded as sensible, prudent, discreet, and a man of understanding. Does that not say it all? Does that not say it all? When he keeps silent, he is considered wise. Don't you want to be considered wise? Thank you all. I ran over a little bit, but thank you all for sitting with me. I have a little more for you on Thursday, and we'll bring it to a close on Thursday. The unruly member, our tongue. Because if we don't bring it under control, that relationship that I was talking about, that you're wondering why, because you got the fastest neck in the east, west, north, and south. I can't do it, but you can get your neck moving and your fingers going and your hands on your hip, all of that. How is it working for you? When you have to come back and say, I'm sorry, you cannot unring a bell. So how do we govern this unruly member? Well, if you meet me back here next Thursday, we're going to talk about some things that we can do to try to bring under control our unruly member, our tongue. Thank you all for sitting with me. I've missed you all, but Thursday we're going to get back on track, okay? So for you, me, and T with Lady D, thank you all, and good night.